Hi, everyone. Welcome to A Turn of Events, where we help put a positive spin on your business. I'm Annette Naif. I am the CEO and creative director of Naif Productions. We are a strategic event company based in New York City. We specialize in corporate, social, and nonprofit. We are obviously doing a lot of virtual events, so if you have any questions about that and you need some help, but today we're going to really talk about virtual events and what that looks like and marketing. And I've got Ramon Ray here with me, who is just the loveliest and best energy I know. I love this guy so much. He's an entrepreneur, author, and speaker, and founder of Smart Hustle Media. So let's welcome Ramon Ray.
Hey, Annette.
Hi, Ramon. How are you?
I feel great. Thanks for having me. Thanks for all the hard work that you do for your community. And I'm deliriously excited to be here. So thank you for having me.
Deliriously excited. I love that. I love that. So why don't you tell everybody about who you are and what you do and where you came from and how you got to where you are now?
Sure. In particular, I'll try to slant it to the event space if it helps those who are interested in that in particular. But I started 4 very small businesses, nothing huge, but I have started 4 amazing companies. And one, in fact, was an event business, Small Business Summit, which you may have been to before, if not more than once. So started that. Indeed. And but I started a technology consulting firm, dissolved that, started smallbiztechnology.com. Sold that last year, and that would have been 20 years to the date when I bought the domain in 1999, and then started my Small Business Summit and ran that for a few years with my partner, Marion Banker. We did that for, 12, 13 years, give or take, something like that. And I sold that. And now I run Smart Hustle. And Smart Hustle is a media company that produces online events for myself that are sponsored. Produces events for other companies, not quite like you do. It's more so my sponsorship model weaved in, you know what I mean?
Right.
And then my speaking, and that's what I do. So produce events, online events, share content with small business owners, and have a lot of fun doing it and hanging out with cool people like you.
Well, you're the coolest too. So we're going to talk about marketing in a virtual environment, which is a huge question. And because we've gone from live to virtual now, and that's probably going to be for a while. But let's start with what are some challenges with online marketing with events, virtual and in person?
Yeah, I think there's a host of challenges. And I think it seems to me, and that what I've seen is that the in-person event, nothing beats that physical in-person, right? I mean, we're in a world, that's why Zoom has shot up. We thought that everybody used Zoom back in the day, like 5 months ago, but no, clearly there's a hockey stick of use, Zoom, Teams, and et cetera, which gets me thinking in-person physical events, we're used to, right? Annette will buy a ticket to see, and Annette, I don't know anything about pop culture, so forgive me, but like Bon Jovi or whoever, like, I don't even know what rock stars are out there. Yeah, whoever is on the stage.
He's out there. Okay. He's still out there.
Okay, so whoever, Annette or Ramon or whoever would buy a ticket, let's go see so-and-so in Madison Square Garden in the local comedy club. We're kind of used to that Yankees game. That's gone. And so I think the challenge we have in marketing events, Annette, they're relatively, but people hire you, of course, because they want to up their game, but relatively easy to you, meaning this is an event. We're on StreamYard. Anybody can get StreamYard. So I think that's the challenge. I use StreamYard is that there's so much now, especially in the last 4 months, content out there. You have the Inks of the world and Our World, Inc. Magazine, Entrepreneur. They're doing events every week. They're doing, anybody with a Zoom thing could be an event. So that's the big challenge to answer the question, meaning I think online, since the barrier to entry is low, not everybody can do an event in Yankee Stadium. Everybody can put 2 good-looking people together in a StreamYard and talk. How do you get attention? That's the challenge.
Yes, that is the challenge. So what are some tips for improving email marketing?
Yeah, I think email marketing, I find, Annette, it's one of the, what's that?
I said that's a big part of getting people to your events.
Correct. And to underline that, Annette, I think that, listen, you can do paid ads, which are great. But again, they have what? 1% or less click-through rate. So you just got to spend a bit. Social media does work. I use social media quite a bit for the events that I do. But again, you got to get people in. And Annette's going to be, and I'm not in a bad way, selfishly focused on her event. I'm going to be selfishly focused on my event. So everybody's not going to be retweeting not their event 100 times.
Right.
So we land with email marketing. And I think those companies that win in the end, Annette, are the ones that have a big email list. A few things that comes to mind for me. One, I think great subject lines are powerful.
Yeah.
Not just the same one, but like, are you going to see her? Dash, dash. Annette's here, next week. Annette's here. Who's that? You got to come to find out.
Yeah.
Come to find out. To see who? Annette. That's
Yeah.
a little silly, but you get my point. So subject line is good. And I think it's the power of repetition that just like old school marketing, the first time people see your email, as you know, Annette, nobody cares a diddly whit about it. But after the third and fourth and fifth time they're seeing it, then I think they really begin to take notice and understand that. So email marketing and that, I definitely am a firm believer. They are powerful, powerful, powerful. And I encourage people, if you're just getting in the game events, it's not too late to build your list, but also leverage other people's lists and do cross partnerships as well.
Yeah, joint ventures are always good, but we have to be consistent, right? And so what if they're like, how many times should I send out? How much should I market?
Sure.
Am I gonna bug people? Like those type of things, everybody gets concerned about that. What do you say about that?
Well, the answer to the last question, am I bugging people? Think about it. You're watching the Super Bowl. The balls get ready to cross the line, whatever happens, and then, hi, Geico. It disturb you?
Personal.
Yeah, it disturbs you.
Geico, I know.
But we all know Geico. So the point being is, here's what I would say in that for how I do it. What I'd love your opinion to know if I'm wrong. So I could be wrong. I want to learn from you as well. For me, the farther ahead I am, 3 months, even 30 days ahead, I send out an email list. Great subject lines are powerful indeed. About once a week, I'd say. As I get closer, I don't mind twice a week. Now, I don't do twice a week for the last, the next 6 months, because that'll get annoying. Let's say Annette's in my fan base, and I follow Annette as well, but let's say in this case, Annette's on my list. I have enough trust with my audience, with Annette and thousands of others. They get it. A few days before the event, Ramon's going to hit us a little harder, if that kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
So I think that those who get to know
I think everybody has that figured out by now. And listen, if they drop off, they're not your peeps, they're just not your people. And the right people are going to be there. And that's, I'm always a believer in that.
But I do think there can be too much in that for sure. I mean, some people, I'm on beyond just event marketing, but like every other day, hi, join me on Twitter. Hi, join me on Facebook. Even if I like them, then I'm always looking, can I subscribe to another list? Maybe I can follow them on Twitter, because at some point, another thing now, I happen to filter all my emails. Just a tip. It's not for this discussion, but so that helps me a lot, because even I have like an email newsletter address. So that helps me cut down. A lot of things don't go directly to my inbox. Now, a message from Annette to Ramon, that will. Yes. But in general, I filter. So
I do the same thing. I have a separate email, like a personal email that I use for newsletters and those kind of advertising things. But anything to do with business or anything like that, then I use my personal email. So I suggest separating them. I have an events email and coaching email. So it's a lot, but you got to separate them, and then I can keep track of everything. So what tools do you recommend for hosting virtual events? And then the other type of that, the other side of that is, and charging to attend virtual events. So I get lots of questions about, should we charge? Are people charging? How much should we charge right now for a virtual event? If they're charging $250 to attend a live event, they feel like they shouldn't be charging that same amount. And so what are your thoughts on that, and some tools that they're using, you recommend for hosting?
Sure. Tools are tough because there are indeed so many, and it depends on what you want to do. But I'll give my 2 cents. And again, Annette, this is what you're definitely a ninja on for sure. But here's a few things I think that I've used, because on the other hand, not only do I produce, meaning my own events, Ramon's events that I'm hosting, but for my clients, I do a lot of, as you know, Annette, speaking and hosting events for my clients, big brands, AT&T, Verizon, Salesforce, SAP, all these companies. So I've seen them use Bright Talk. I've seen them use a Big Marker. Those are 2 that are very popular that have come across in the last few weeks. And I think Bright Talk and Big Marker are good because of the fact that you can easily host pre-recorded content. It's not, you don't have to do let me share my screen, Annette. Let me share. Can anybody see it? No. On their platform, you just hit play in the video. So that's one. I think for hosting. And I think then, of course, listen, Zoom works. StreamYard works. And there's many private companies, I'm sure Annette knows 20 of them, that can host an event kind of like that professional TV for you, for sure.
Right. Well, what it comes down to is, what are you trying to accomplish in the end? Do you have a lot of speakers? Do you want breakout rooms? And people ask the same question, what platforms? There are so many, but there's different levels of it. So if you're just going to have, a few people and, you got 30 people on and you want to do a few breakouts, Zoom's great. Or you could do a web-based sort of platform. And then there's also like a software platform, which is, each level is a different price. And when you get up to the fancy ones where it looks like you're walking into a virtual event, those could run $30,000. So it really depends on what's your budget and what are you trying to accomplish. And then we can tell you what platforms are best to fit your budget and what you want to accomplish. Correct. So what about pricing? And, I know that you did your first event and you didn't charge it was free. Is that the same for your next one?
Yeah, and it depends again on what the goal is, what the purpose is. This is the real big thing, as you've hinted, with what platform. So I've seen that whether it's for me or for clients, Hilton Hotels doing an event or whatever event it may be. I think that if you're doing it for lead generation, to build your brand, and you have the budget for it, you do it for free because you want more people to come and it builds your brand. You'll sell them something else.
Right.
Now, if you're doing an event because you've lost revenue from speaking, Annette, you kind of either have to charge for it or have it free for the day of, and then have people pay for it if they want to get the archived version or on demand. And then the other option is that you charge people for it and or build in something to sell, because at the end of the day, Annette, we all got to make money.
Right.
Sponsors are another thing that you can do. I find that sponsorship's another thing that you can do. In other words, to make money from your event. That's my model. So the reason why I can have the event for free is because I'm selling your time, your eyeballs, to one of my sponsors. So, but for sure, I think it's a challenge for it to be free or for fee. But if it's a free event, then I think you have to think, how am I recouping the investment of hiring an Annette or somebody else to help me do it? Where's that investment going to come from?
Right. So I host a lot of events for coaches, similar to yourself, and some of them they're charging a low. So my thought on this is, if you charge a low fee, like $97, there's skin in the game and they're going to show up.
Correct.
If you don't charge anything, people are more likely not to come, and you won't get the audience that you want. We are seeing higher audiences now because really 3 times the amount of people, as you know, when you do a live event, there's so many more people on now because it's virtual. So, but you just have to, if you're going to sell a package, like if you're selling something from your event, or you're obviously a fundraiser, you need to charge. You got to raise money. So we are in a different time, but I think people are now getting more used to the fact that there are events that you need to pay for. And, we just kind of, again, we all have to make money. So
absolutely. Okay,
so you mentioned sponsors. So how do we find sponsors for virtual events? It's a whole nother thing now when they can't get, they can't get the people in the room. What are your experiences that I know you've talked about this before? It's very interesting.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, listen, I think the easiest way and the best way to have a conversation with a sponsor, forget getting a check, but to have a conversation, is to have that relationship. I think that's first and foremost the number one thing. Many people say, Ramon, can you help me get a sponsor? I'm having an event tomorrow. No, I can't. Don't even call me. But I think that a year or two out, sorry, people may not like this, this is where you have the relationship. Yeah. This is where you ask the right questions. This is where you talk. Let's say I want Annette to sponsor an event, and she's the head of big company X, some local bank. Hey, Annette, what are your goals? What are you looking for? What have you done in the past? What worked? What doesn't work? What kind of leads do you need? Who's the perfect type of customer? Then you reverse engineer that event and present it back to Annette. Here's the perfect event for you. So I think that's where you start to have a conversation about, will the sponsor be a part of it? And things they want, often they want the list, often they want to speak. Sometimes they may want just publicity for it. So it depends on various ways you can do that can work when you're talking about event sponsorships, for sure.
Right. And also, it's tough with your first, you have a lot of relationships because you've done live events.
Correct.
So you have a lot of relationships. But if you're just starting out, it is tough. But getting on the phone, talking about your audience, talking about what you're trying to do, and find out where, like, if you want to go to the sponsors where, so if you're a women's organization and this company wants to donate, wants to sponsor women's organizations, go to that type of company. You're not you've got to find the people that are going to resonate with what you do and your audience and stuff like that. So, and
I do think that one other thing I want to add, I think that visuals make a big difference as well. I think that some people, and today I don't see it so much, but I think that people don't take the time to have good visuals for an event. And I think that matters. I listen, I'm small business. I work in a home office here in New Jersey. I'm not trying to be some big fancy person, but yet I want the visual identity that I present to look legit. So when an SAP, a Verizon, AT&T, these big brands, how you look matters. So take the time to get a professional designer or somebody else. And even now, unless you're a professional designer, even using Canva and that, as you may know, you can tell when something's done yourself. So even that is important to consider.
Right, right. Okay, so and what has to be different between in-person and virtual sponsors? So what's the difference between that?
I think there's a lot of similar things, but a lot of differences. I think that let's take what's the difference between just a virtual and in-person event. The fact that you can't touch, you can't see in person, all you're going to is that lens. This is it. Hi, everybody. How are you? Welcome. It's good. That's it. It's just moving this lens. That's it. Yeah, I see Annette who's 2 inches to my left down there and the side of my eye. And you all get what I'm saying. I wanted to express that because that's the same way a sponsor sees it. So I think some differences are they can't network at the table. Now, there are, and I'm sure you do this for some clients, Annette, there are the virtual exhibit events and things where you have the avatars of people. Yeah, that's okay. But I think, what's that?
They're expensive. They cost a lot of money to have that.
Correct. But I think a sponsor, listen, from what I've seen, they want to be able to talk to your audience. So you can give them 15 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, whatever the time is, and let them communicate to your audience. Maybe you interview them because you want it to come off well. I think that's what you can do.
Right, right. I think that's important, giving them some kind of, and also I think it's a good advice. The tip that you gave was ask them what they want, because then it might be something you didn't think about, right? And they maybe want a list or something like that, so that's important. Okay, so how does CRM program help online businesses?
Yeah, I like CRM. Listen, CRM stands for Customer Relationship Management. And I think this is big word that many people don't fully understand it. There's contact management, which is that I have Annette's number in my contact. I can pull her up, know what her cell phone is, or address, whatever it is about Annette, and she has the same with me. So that's just basic contacts. But I think then when it gets up, let's say Annette bought for me. I'm not going to remember what she bought last year. I'm not going to remember how many items she ordered this month. This is where CRM comes in. And I think there's tools like Visita, tools like Keep, tools like so many tools. Wix has CRM Lite tools. And these are for individual business owners, especially coaches, to kind of keep track. Who are their customers? What do they like? What have they bought? When should I follow up with them? Is there a mechanism to sell them? That's kind of how I think CRM is good, especially for smaller businesses, because if you're running your business in that just with an Excel spreadsheet or just with Google Contacts or Outlook Contacts, you just don't have the heft that you need to really understand that life cycle of your customer. So that's what a good CRM will help you do. Scheduling, even some have built in. Thrive is another good CRM. So Thrive, Visita, Wix CRM, Keep. These are some light ones that go above contact management that you can do campaigns. Everybody who hasn't bought, people who bought this, I can help sell to them. That's how that works.
And how much would expect to spend for something like that?
I think from $20 to $99 a month, I think is fair. That there's a big range depending on what you're doing. Right. But I think it's something that like a cell phone bill or less. I think that's fair. And there's some that are free, but usually, and Zoho CRM. But I tend to shy. Salesforce Essentials is another one. So there's about 7 good ones out there. Yeah. But I tend to shy away from free in that only because oftentimes free, it's, you pay to get the higher.
Yeah, you get what you pay for. Exactly, as the saying goes. Okay, so working with a virtual team. What are some tips on this? Because I know a lot of people aren't clear. Like we do a lot of educating right now on why do I need you? If I have an AV team, why do I need an event producer to, on site? Or who else do I need on my team to run a virtual event?
Sure. I think that the best experience you get from people who are event producers like you are, Annette, I think it's the expertise. Listen, yes, your team can do it. But here's the example I would use. I have a core team, great designer, great videographer, other things of this nature. But when it comes time for me to, make water bottles for a client, I want to hire the water bottle person. That was a silly example. So my point being, your team is probably not an expert in this particular industry. Now, you can hire in-house. If you're doing events every day, you should probably hire somebody. You probably have too much work for that. But my point is, generally speaking, if it's an online event you're doing a few times a year, you need someone who's up to date on the platforms, up to date on the systems, up to date on the best practices, up to date on how they integrate, and knows not just the platform, but has an experience of what's the agenda like and what's the experience like for your customers. So for me, Annette, that's why I recommend highly hiring somebody to work with you. And don't just call Annette the hour before. Annette, I got 575 people signed up. Can you help me?
Yeah. Give us time.
Call her 2 months ahead of time. Let her plan it with you.
Yeah. No, I mean, look, we jumped in a month before a live event with, hundreds of people. We have done that for many reasons, but, it's why go through the stress, So I think people are realizing that you do need some kind of help. So we have a couple questions here. Let's just stop for a second. Okay, let's see. Claudia Sam, curious why you'd have people pay for the replay and not for attending live.
Sure. This is just, in my opinion, but Annette, I'd love to know what you think, a business decision and a way to drive revenue. That's all. You're saying if you want to watch it for free, great. We thank you for your time, watch for free. But if you're really interested and you want to go back and review it and take notes, pay for it. So, or you can have people pay for the whole thing. But that's a general practice I've seen of why I have people take it for free now. But if you want it afterwards, you got to pay.
Yeah. And I mean, I think it just comes down to, exactly what you said. I mean, at the end of the day, it's, and then they also get to read, like I know when I'm live, I'm taking notes and sometimes like, oh, what did I miss? I missed something there. So I want to go back and do that. So, okay. How do you successfully transition from planning and marketing in-person events to hosting virtual events? So that transition.
Sure. Yeah, it's not easy. I think it is tough. You lose the energy of the room coming in. Hey, everybody. And they're Oh, I forgot. You can't see my hands, but your hands are out. They're slapping your hands. Yay, high five me. I'm going on stage. Everybody stand up. Stand up. Get out of your chairs. Oh, whoop.
I know.
It's just this.
I know. Well, that's why engagement's super important with live and why I always like to try to get my clients to send a gift box prior to the event that has some fun interactive things in it that people can hold up. So if you're doing a hybrid event and you have a host on a stage and then you have like hundreds of people that are virtually on site or, viewing, I have told my AV team, I like to have the cameras come behind the host and show the back, what's behind the scenes. That gets the audience involved and they can see all the different TVs and all the people on there. And I like to have part of that because that's different. That's something we would never do. So, initially my AV team was like, wait a minute, why would we want to show? Okay, we'll do that. I said, because it just keeps people, it's fun to see what's going on behind the scenes and to see what the host is doing. So it's just more interactive stuff that I think is important. But there's nothing like it. So
and one thing that I've done for engagement, if it's helpful, and many people, this is not rocket science, but I think just calling out people. Hey, Claudia, thank you for that great question. By the way, Claudia, where are you from? Hit us up, put us the state where you're from. Or Kathy, thanks for being here, Kathy. What's your biggest problem? Calling out people like that. You all don't have to answer if you don't want, but calling out people. It's engaging, especially when you have people who are really active using some sort of chatting. People like, hey, before we begin, here's a question. Before we begin, here's a question. It brings people out, people like that.
I find that people do want to be called out, but they want to be on the camera. They want to be called out. If they don't, they usually just have their cameras off, which we don't want people to do that. Normally, we try to tell people to keep your camera on so everybody can see you and you're engaged. So, Okay, so if you have a free virtual event scheduled and you want to collect emails, what are your tips on doing that and adding people to your email list?
Yeah, I think because it's free doesn't mean you can't collect the emails. And I would say then that's the price. If anything, the price is we need your email, first name, last name, possibly even some demographic information about the event, about who you are. So I think at the very least, there's no problem in that. That's how you collect that. And then you stream it. You can either stream it to a private Facebook page, stream it for free. And most people are still going to register, offer a freebie attached to it. Those who register get this, that, or the other. So I think for sure, online is a great way to collect leads and build a list and then tease to selling something else. Because again, we're not doing events, not doing online events just for our health. It's either to build a brand, which is kind of soft, or it's to drive direct sales.
So I know you've spoken all around the world.
I try.
which appearances are your favorite, and what's some lessons you've learned from this?
Yeah, I think I really love speaking in Aruba. There's a friend of mine there who does events for Arubian business owners, and I've been to an event there with 500 to 1,000 people. It's interesting. I don't know if it's all the Caribbean, but there's this thing called pasteches, and it's like a pastry with cheese in it, sometimes meat, like empanada,
Yeah.
and they serve stuff like that to the speakers in the front row, and you can order it. So it's a different experience. In the U.S., I've never been to a Marriott or Hilton or somewhere where you're getting food in your seat. In Aruba, it's at your seat. And as a speaker, hi, Mr. Ray, my name is so-and-so. I was told to take care of you. Would you like some water, some lemonade? I'm like, you know what? I can do this. So
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I also know that you like burnt pancakes and bacon on the weekend.
I do indeed. I do indeed.
I like bacon anytime, but I'm a big bacon lover. Okay, so what are some tips and tools for finding new event clients, virtual event clients, which I'm all ears right now.
Sure, absolutely. I mean, listen, I think, and again, I'm having the lens only from what I know, and I work with many people in the tech sector. All of them, Annette, are, and now 4 months into it, I think we're past the experimentation stage of what do I do, but I think they're all looking for, how do I do an event? How do I get the most people to come? And how do I make it most effective? And I've seen a gamut of things. I've seen events that were done taped, but then Annette, they had a play button on it. So you could scroll ahead or backwards, meaning I was like, oh, this is what you mean by tape. I could have just watched this on YouTube. So I think that's when event planner comes in. Yeah. You should be signing up to all these events, not to learn, to see what they're doing well, what they're doing wrong. Right. You're seeing the name CMO. And hey, by the way, I attended your event by Dove. Dove's Beautiful Women Inside and Outside event. And right. I noticed it was great. But 3 things I noticed: the button on the right side, I would suggest you do it like this. The engagement I noticed was a bit low because of this. If I can be of service and help you, feel free to hit me up. So I think that's one thing to do. You be a student of events, and not that you never slam them. Annette, here's everything you did wrong. No.
Yeah.
Great job, Annette. Yeah. And here's a tip. And if I can serve you and work with you, I'd love to do it.
Yeah. I mean, listen, I can give some advice on what I've been doing. Being consistent on social media. I mean, that's like you're showing yourself as an expert. I'm doing this, trying to help people. So that's also getting me out there, and I get to talk. I'm interjecting with you and all my other interviewees. And I'm reaching out, also reach out to all the people that you've, over the years or whatever it is that you've reached out to, and they said no to a live event. Right. Maybe they need you now for a virtual. So reach out to all the people that said no and the people that you've worked with before. And then just set up, I set up a conversation with somebody that does a lot of events. I don't do her events. She does them herself. She does a lot of them. And I reached out to her, and we were just talking as friends. We've known each other for like 10 years, and we're just chatting. And so I just started saying, well, she was going to do an event like 3 weeks. And she had like 40 people that were going to be on. And I said, so are you going to, this is a great idea. And I just started giving her some great, I love giving ideas and helping people. That's just what I love to do. And she was like, oh my gosh, I need to hire you. She was like, I didn't think of any of this, and I love it. And what I think might not be that great and special, other people, because I've been doing this for so long, other people are like, oh my gosh, that's great. I got a job out of it. And so
we can learn from each other.
Right. So just reach back and stuff like that. So, okay. So recently you participated in Side Gig Con, which I had heard. It's a virtual conference, which was held in July. And it was to teach side hustles how to make a full-time income.
Right.
So what was the experience like? And do you have any suggestions for making virtual conferences better from a speaker's point of view, which I think is super important? Because, listen, I can talk about getting the content out, but the speaker part of it is really going to make, make or break your event. If you have crappy speakers, that's no fun.
Absolutely. So
I know how fantastic you are as a speaker. The energy
Thank you,
guy is like,
appreciate it.
You guys have to attend one of his live events whenever it happens again. Hopefully that's next year, but he's fantastic.
I appreciate it.
It's unbelievable.
No, thank you very much. I appreciate it. Blushing brown. Appreciate it. But it was on the Hopin. I think it's Hopin, right? Let me just Hopin. Yeah. Hopin.to or .io, I think, platform. So that's another one of the many platforms out there, Hopin platform. And I think the platform itself, I found at first was a bit complicated, but I realized it was a bit complicated because it had a range of options in it. So, for example, there's a backstage link, secret link just for speakers to get on the backstage chat with the producer. So overall, Hopin, I'd give it an A. It was great, depending on what you need. Very feature rich. So that was the platform itself. I think the host was great. I worked with Tara Jackson, and she had an admin, a team to help with the back end thing. That worked well. She had a DJ part of it. I've been on events where they have kind of some music and a DJ.
Those are fun.
What's that?
Those are fun. I love DJs. That's fun.
So I think overall it went well. I think what she did well was over communication. Some people may say, why so many emails? But out of the 10 speakers you had, Annette, you know how we are. We're like cats sometimes. Ramon, I sent you 52 emails. Here's the StreamYard link. I never got it. Well, you said you got it. It's 2 minutes before showtime, and they're like, I didn't get it. Yeah. So over communication, even like, Ramon, we know it's 5 minutes to go. Just wanted you to have the link at the top of your inbox. Sounds weird, but I think things like that, having things in a calendar invite, which you and your team have done so well for me, just even on this discussion. So those are a few things I would say. The event itself went well. Hopin was the platform. A lot of discussion, a lot of engagement. They had a DJ. So it was good. Well done. And we had multiple speakers. And then as far as the speaker engagement, I think that's the best thing that I liked. You couldn't say that you didn't know what was going on.
Yeah.
Here's what you have to do. Here's the agenda. Your speaking time is this time, but before you will be this happening. So it's pretty good.
Yeah. I mean, just as a producer, it is frustrating. And even as a speaker's live, it's, there's a lot of hand holding, and we love you guys and we need you, but there's always a lot of hand holding. Yes. So if you could, maybe my tip is, on the producer side of it, is just, pay attention to the emails, be engaged, be on time, make sure you are doing what you're asked to do, and don't go over your time. Like if it says for 20 minutes, go 20 minutes, because it messes up the whole schedule. So, and
one more thing I'll say, that every speaker is different, meaning we're all humans, but it's just, I find that some speakers, you think they're email people. No, I get 1,000 emails. I don't look at my email.
I know.
I mean, so can you text me the link? So just understand that everybody has their own system of how they do it.
Their own style. Yeah. So it is what it is. But I've had so much fun. If you guys have any questions, please ask us, because we're gonna wrap this up. But you can always come back into the feed. So I just want you to talk about what you're doing with your event, and promote your event and any offers that you have for everyone. But talk about your event, because I'd love for everyone to be there. I attended the first one, and it was fantastic. I think it was like 4 hours, and it's a good amount of time, and it was really smooth, and you did an awesome job. So let's talk about that.
Actually, not 4 hours.
What? 5 hours. See, it didn't even feel like 5 hours.
Yeah, but no, I'd appreciate listening, Annette. Thank you for your generosity. And it's just been great having a conversation and educating and working with you, your audience. But Survive and Thrive Summit, surviveandthrivesummit.com. It's free. 5 hours, 20 speakers, and we will be using the live stream platform, I believe. Live stream broadcast to Facebook. We're using a platform, Hey Summit, but again, there's so many, as you know, Annette. It depends on what the client needs, and I'm looking forward to it. So it's going to be intense. It'll be live. There's no pre-recording. Everything you see is live in action, and I think that's a hallmark of how I'm going to do my events. Meaning, I do events for clients as well, but for the remote events. Yeah, I think it's going to be all live. That'll be my little marquee type of event.
Yeah. So we put the link in the
thank you.
The feed in the chat. So thank you so much. And also to reach Ramon, you can reach him on we put it in there. But I just love you to pieces. Thank you so much for doing this with me, and hopefully we can help some people. And if anybody needs advice, please reach out to us. We're happy to help you. Okay. Thank you, Ramon. Thank you.